Love or fear, which truly rules the world? Machiavelli didn't waste time with fairy tales. He knew people are selfish, fickle, and ready to betray when it suits them. That's why he claimed it's safer to be feared than loved. Fear doesn't depend on fragile feelings. Fear commands. Fear controls. Fear lasts. This isn't about cruelty for cruelty's sake. It's about survival, power, and the ugly truth of human nature. So why does fear still dominate politics, leadership, and even our personal lives centuries later? Today we dive into Machiavelli's ruthless wisdom and ask, was he right all along? The world Machiavelli knew. To understand why fear triumphs over love, you must understand Machiavelli's Italy. The 16th century was not an age of peace or gentle affection. It was an era of knives in the dark, shifting alliances, mercenary armies, and betrayal dressed in velvet robes. City-states like Florence, Venice, and Milan clawed at each other's throats, while foreign powers, Spain, France, the Holy Roman Empire, circled like wolves. Machiavelli lived through conspiracies, invasions, and exiles. He saw leaders adored one moment, abandoned the next. He watched kingdoms crumble because their princes trusted too much in loyalty, too much in love. He studied the chaos and wrote The Prince not as a dream of what power should be, but as a brutal manual of what power truly is. And at the heart of it, the question, is it better to be loved or feared? Fear endures, love deceives. The fragility of love. Why did Machiavelli distrust love? Because love is voluntary. It is given freely, and therefore can be withdrawn just as freely. Love is tied to gratitude, to affection, to ideals, fragile things that shatter at the first touch of self-interest. Men are ungrateful, fickle, liars. Machiavelli warns. They cling to convenience, not loyalty. They will profess eternal devotion to their ruler, to their leader, to their friend, until the winds shift. When hardship strikes, when sacrifice is required, love evaporates like mist at dawn. Think of Caesar, loved by the people of Rome, yet struck down by the knives of his own allies. Think of kings who trusted their nobles' affection, only to be betrayed for gold or power. Love is a mask worn until it no longer profits the wearer. To rule by love is to build on sand. The permanence of fear, on the other hand, is rooted deeper. It is not granted by affection but imposed by power. Fear is tied not to fleeting emotions but to survival. It makes men cautious, obedient, predictable. Where love bends, fear commands. Where love fades, fear endures. A ruler who inspires fear does not beg for loyalty, he compels it. His people may not adore him, but they respect him, or at least they dread the consequences of disobedience. And dread is far more reliable than devotion. But Machiavelli does not preach cruelty without reason. Fear must be wielded carefully. The ruler must never cross the line into hatred. Hatred poisons fear, turning obedience into rebellion. To be feared but not hated. This is the razor's edge of power. Fear in action, the Borgias. If you want to see Machiavelli's ideas embodied, look to the House of Borgia. Caesar Borgia, in particular, fascinated Machiavelli. Ruthless, cunning, and merciless when needed, Caesar ruled not through affection but through dread. He crushed rivals, executed traitors, and displayed corpses in the streets as warnings. Yet he also brought stability where chaos reigned. Machiavelli admired Caesar not because he was loved. He wasn't. He admired him because fear made his rule effective. Even those who despised him obeyed, because disobedience meant death. In a world of shifting loyalties, Caesar's use of fear gave him a power love never could. The psychology of fear. Why does fear work so well? Because fear is primal. It bypasses reason, bypasses morality, and strikes at the deepest human instinct, survival. A man may betray a friend he loves if it benefits him, but he will hesitate to betray one he fears, because fear reminds him of the cost. Fear tightens the leash of power. It imposes boundaries where love offers freedom. And Machiavelli knew in politics, in war, in rule, freedom breeds danger. Love makes people bold, entitled, and unpredictable. Fear keeps them cautious, obedient, restrained. And yet, the mystery deepens. Machiavelli was not merely describing politics, he was revealing human nature itself. He saw through the illusions we tell ourselves, that love governs us, that compassion guides us. But beneath the surface, beneath the noble lies, it is fear that rules our decisions. Fear of loss, fear of death, fear of power. The dagger in the dark. Imagine a prince standing alone in a darkened hall. Outside, enemies gather, allies plot, the people whisper. If his power rests on love, what protects him when the whispers turn into daggers? Will the people's affection shield him from betrayal? No, love does not stop the blade, but fear might. Fear keeps the dagger sheathed, keeps the conspirator awake at night, imagining the consequences. Fear whispers, not yet, not him. The risk is too great. And so, the prince survives another day. This is why fear rules over love, because in the decisive moments, when shadows lengthen and treachery prowls, it is not love that saves you, it is fear. Machiavelli's lesson is not so simple. Fear is powerful, but it must be controlled. Too much fear curdles into hatred. Too little fear dissolves into weakness. The ruler must strike a balance, like a puppeteer pulling strings with invisible precision. And this is where the mystery lies. Fear is not just an emotion, it is a tool, a weapon, a veil that can be draped over an entire society. The skilled ruler does not merely terrify. He manipulates fear, directs it, shapes it like clay. He decides whom the people should fear, when they should fear, and how much they should fear. In doing so, he becomes more than a ruler. He becomes the architect of their very reality. Love comforts. Fear commands. Love may bring joy, but fear guarantees obedience. And in a world of shifting loyalties, obedience is survival. Machiavelli stripped away the illusions of morality, exposing the skeleton of power. He showed us that fear is not the shadow of love, but its conqueror. And yet, in wielding fear, the ruler dances on a knife's edge. Too much, and he breeds rebellion. Too little, and he breeds betrayal. This is the seduction of fear, its permanence, its predictability, its ruthless efficiency. But what of its legacy? What of the long shadows it casts over history, politics, and our own lives? That is where we go next, the dark legacy of fear. Fear commands. Fear sustains. Fear preserves. But fear is not without danger. If it becomes cruelty, it turns to hatred. If it becomes madness, it devours itself. Machiavelli knew this. He never told rulers to revel in bloodshed for its own sake. He told them to use fear with precision, like a surgeon with a knife. A cut deep enough to control, but not deep enough to kill the body. This is the dark paradox of fear. It rules more reliably than love, yet it threatens to consume those who wield it. The fine line between fear and hatred. A ruler who is feared is obeyed. A ruler who is hated is destroyed. The line is razor thin. Machiavelli warned, it is much safer to be feared than loved, if one of the two must be wanting. But above all, avoid being hated. Because hatred corrodes fear. Hatred makes people willing to risk everything just to destroy the tyrant. Hatred makes conspiracies grow like weeds in the dark. Hatred unites enemies who would never otherwise ally. So the ruler must orchestrate his fear carefully, punish swiftly, but not endlessly. Display power, but cloak it in necessity. Let the people say, he is ruthless, but he keeps order. Better to be dreaded than despised. The mask of mercy, the master of fear knows when to wear mercy, like a mask. Forgiveness at the right moment is not weakness, it is strategy. It makes the ruler appear balanced, just, even humane. It gives the people relief, a taste of love, just enough to keep hatred from boiling over. But make no mistake, this mercy is calculated. It is not born of compassion, it is born of survival. A single pardon may prevent a rebellion. A single gesture of clemency may bind enemies in chains of gratitude. Fragile chains, yes, but long enough to keep hatred at bay. This is Machiavelli's art. Fear as the foundation, mercy as the disguise. The modern echo of fear. You may think this belongs to the past, to princes, to tyrants, to kings with daggers under their robes. But fear still rules today. Look at politics. Leaders who try to govern through love, through charisma alone, often crumble when times turn hard. But those who project strength, who inspire caution, who make even their allies think twice before crossing them, those leaders endure. Look at business. CEOs who want to be adored by their workers may win smiles, but they often lose respect. The ones who cultivate an aura of fear, fear of failure, fear of consequences, are the ones whose companies obey, expand, and dominate. Look at everyday life. Even in relationships, even in friendships, even in families, love may guide us, but fear sets the boundaries. Fear of loss, fear of rejection, fear of betrayal, it shapes our choices more than we dare admit. Machiavelli was not just describing rulers, he was describing us. The poison of fear, yet fear has its poison. Ruling by fear may guarantee obedience, but it breeds silence, resentment, and submission. A society built on fear may function, but beneath the surface, it seethes. Think of Stalin's Russia. Fear kept millions obedient, but it also bred paranoia so thick that even the ruler himself was trapped in it. He trusted no one, saw traitors in every shadow, and became a prisoner of the very fear he unleashed. This is the price of fear. It is effective, but it isolates. It makes a ruler strong but also alone. Love gathers people around you willingly. Fear drives them into line, but with daggers hidden behind their backs. Fear's legacy in history. History's graveyards are filled with rulers who misunderstood Machiavelli. Those who thought cruelty without calculation was strength. Those who confused hatred with fear. Caligula, Rome's mad emperor, drenched himself in blood and terror, but his cruelty turned to loathing, and the daggers found him. Robespierre, the architect of the French Revolution's terror, used fear to purge, but when hatred surpassed fear, he too fell under the guillotine. Contrast them with rulers who mastered the balance. Elizabeth I of England projected fear when needed but cloaked it in regal charisma. She punished rebellion ruthlessly, but gave her people a vision to respect. Napoleon inspired both admiration and dread, balancing the scales until his ambition tipped them too far. Fear rules over love, but only when wielded like a blade, not like a bludgeon. The eternal whisper of Machiavelli. So what do we learn? That Machiavelli's vision was not just about politics, not just about princes. It was about the essence of power itself. Power is not a matter of hearts, it is a matter of survival. Love is fragile, fleeting, easily broken. Fear is durable, primal, and deeply etched into the human soul. And centuries after The Prince was written, its lessons still whisper in the corridors of power. Politicians, generals, CEOs, they may never admit it, but they all hear Machiavelli's voice. Be feared, be obeyed, or be destroyed. Though love fades, fear rules. It ruled in the palaces of Renaissance Italy, and it rules still in boardrooms, parliaments, and even in the hidden corners of our lives. Machiavelli tore the mask off humanity and showed us its darkest truth, that power does not rest on affection, but on control. That rulers survive not because they are adored, but because they are feared. The legacy of fear is not pretty. It is ruthless, it is cold, and it is drenched in shadow. But it is real. And in the silence of history's graveyards, we still hear Machiavelli whispering his lesson to those who dare to rule. If you want more truth stripped raw, If you want more darkness pulled into the light, subscribe, because this is only the beginning.